Hello, welcome to Gardener's World. This is chicory, red Trevizo. And all summer, these green leaves have been growing nice and lush, which in turn have fed in to create a deep taproot. And then it's the taproot that will produce the red leaves that we eat. So all this green growth will actually go eventually and not be eaten. And what I'm doing is clearing away the excess that's falling down, because there's a real risk that it can become really wet and clogged and rather rotten in there, and you want to let light and air into it. And the weather is getting colder. There's a real nip in the air this morning, and autumn is definitely coming in. But I think the garden is looking as good as it has done all year. There's masses of colour, and there's plenty of life in it yet. As part of our series celebrating extraordinary allotments, this week, Joe goes to Runcorn in Cheshire to visit a plot that is distinctly exotic.
Look at the size of that. Isn't that amazing?
And Rachel visits RHS Wisley to discover some new pests that have the potential to cause havoc in our gardens.
There, can you see the larvae in there?
Oh, yes. Oh, look at it wriggling around.
And I shall be looking at 3 very different types of lemon in the garden, as well as planting shrubs for berries in the wildlife garden. The days may be getting a lot shorter, but the colour is actually getting more intense. We've lost that bright, vivid exuberance that you get in June and July, and it's replaced with a richness. And that will carry on into October, and I often feel that the colours in the Jaw Garden are like a wine that you can swirl around your colour palette and just breathe it in. It's a wonderful moment, and what I want to do today is just add to it a little bit. We've got 2 very different types of plant. The first is a Helenium, which is very much a plant of this time of year. Heleniums come from North America, and they grow on banks of rivers. They like moist soil, but open sunlight. This is called dark beauty. If you have a very wet garden, it's probably better to plant them in spring. But what I want to do is fill some gaps. We've got big gaps in here, and I want to introduce the colour. Now, they like, as I say, fairly damp conditions, but not boggy. And above all, they like sunlight. So don't put them in too much shade, and don't surround them with other plants. But this should be okay here. And I'm going to plant a little group. And there's one of the plants that, if you can, buy at least 3 and make a group, because they tend to grow much better in clumps. Whereas the Helenium is a perennial that I'd like to last for years and years, this Rudbeckia is called Rudbeckia hirta cappuccino, and it's a biennial. You sow the seeds May, June, they then grow the plant for the rest of the summer, and then the following season, they come into flower. After it's finished flowering this year, that's it. It's done its stuff and can go. Although it might seem wasteful that these plants will only flower for another month or so, they cost about the cost of a pint of beer. Now, that strikes me as very good value indeed. Rudbeckia, again, comes from North America, and will like open spaces. And again, like Heleniums, they do much better planted en masse. And it's these bronze marmalade tones that I absolutely love, and you do not get them earlier on in summer. I wait all year for them, and they never fail to delight. Now, one tip that is important is if you are planting at this time of year as opposed to spring, keep these plants well watered. They should now grow and give me colour this year, and then the Heleniums will grow much stronger next year, spread, and I can divide them after 2 or 3 years and start building up stock. And hopefully, in about 3 or 4 years' time, they'll be well established as this lovely swathe of velvety colour from August through to October. One of the things that I like about the Jaw Garden at this time of year is its lushness. And you can get quite an exotic feel. However, there is exotic, and then there is true exotic. And a few months ago, we asked you to write to us if you thought you had a special allotment. Either you were growing extraordinary things or it was an extraordinary place. And we received a letter recently from Stephen Sopsa in Runcorn, who said that his allotment was exotic. So, Joe went along to have a look.
Dear Gardener's World, 10 years ago I bought Will Giles's book about exotic plants with pictures of his garden and I was hooked. Sounds exciting.
Steve's been working this patch for 10 years and clearly has a way with tropical plants.
Oh, it's all happening through here then, is it? OK, yeah, OK, I found the jungle.
Yeah. I love the garden and I love being it. I love going through the foliage and picking bits up and tidying it up and making it look as best as I possibly can.
But you also like collecting things other people might not have.
Yeah, like the Schefflerers, for instance. I've got a Schefflerer.
Yeah, I've got a Schefflerer as well. I bet my one's bigger than yours now, you see.
You can't even see my one.
Oh, these echiums are just brilliant, though, aren't they? And the narrow paths make it really feel like you're sort of in amongst it. Oh, and a nice palm here. So what's this one?
This is a Beautia capitata.
So can you leave that outdoors up here?
Yeah.
You serious?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Do you wrap it up in the winter?
No. This is quite mature, this plant, and it'll take minus 12 degrees, so it's a quite hardy plant.
Wow.
Paulownia.
This is a Paulownia, but it's fantastic. I mean, look at the size of that. Isn't that amazing?
I trim it down about March, and when the little buds come up, I rub them all off except for one.
Yeah.
And that one grows into this stem.
Yeah. This is a ricinus, isn't it?
Ricinus, yeah.
Yeah, because it sort of threw me, because often people go for the purple foliage and the purple stem ones, but this has got a really beautiful sort of blue stem.
Bluey-green colour, yeah.
Bluey-green, and these are the seed pods, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're so weird, but they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. So it looks really mature. How long has this been planted, Steve?
This is the second year.
Second year?
Second year, yeah.
You serious?
Yeah.
So what sort of soil preparation have you done here?
Here it has to be well drained, so we have to put lots of sand in it and lots of grit. So, yeah, and it does take a long time watering as well.
But is it, I would have thought there's no lack of moisture around this part of the world, or do you still have to water a lot?
Still have to water it because the leaves and everything, the plants are so big. After the rains have come, you go in and all around the plants is still dry.
Up here, to think that a lot of them are getting through the winter and actually put on this much growth, it's astonishing, I have to say. It feels as if you've created a real microclimate in here. It feels so protected.
The miscanthus up at the end there stops the wind from blowing through. So everything in here is probably a couple of degrees higher than it is everywhere else because of that.
Wow, and it makes all the difference. I can almost hear it growing at the moment. But where did it all start?
In the back garden at home, we've only got a small back garden. I did start off there with the trachycarpus. In the middle, I stuck Abyssinian banana, the ventricosum, which grows, after 2 years, grows like 16 feet. So I couldn't bring that in the house. I brought it in the house the first year.
So what was the missus thinking?
When the back garden ended up as a jungle, she said, I want my garden back.
To maintain matrimonial harmony and not break the bank, Steve also uses his allotment for propagation.
So what's going on in here then, Steve?
These are the brugmansias.
And you've got a couple of big ones over here then?
Yeah.
So are they going to flower this year, do you think?
Yeah, we've got a couple of buds coming up here.
Yeah, and how do you go about propagating?
And what you do is just under a leaf, you'll cut it off there.
Yeah.
And just above a leaf, you'll cut it off there.
Right, so you take a section out.
Yeah. And then what you do is you can wrap them up in the sphagnum moss, or in my case, a wet rag, and then you can bury it somewhere like the compost heap or somewhere like that, at least 9 inches down so the frost can't get at it, and then dig them up next year around spring and just pop them in a 3-inch pot and away they go.
Fantastic. I didn't know that at all.
Steve doesn't let anything stand still in his allotment. He's got a miniature date palm that's been hit hard by the cold summer.
So you're going to whip it out and what, pot it up and give it to someone?
Yeah, someone will have it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take that out and we'll put the Japanese anemones in it. It gives it a bit more colour amongst the foliage.
It's quite a spiky little number.
Yeah, yeah.
I can see
I'll
on
get
the
in and
top.
start digging it. Just need to loosen it round the roots and then it should come out straight away.
Oh, there you go. OK, that'll come out quite easily. Oh, well, that'll pot up nicely as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, I got it. Yeah, lovely. Oh, it's quite heavy, actually, isn't it? So you've got these Japanese anemones, which I think are a fabulous choice. And what I really like about your garden, I'm not going to call it an allotment because it isn't really, it's the choice of plants. You know, you set the tone with all these tropical and exotic plants, and then you put things like Japanese anemones in, red hot pokers, and the brunnera. You know, you see that in a sort of woodland border. You wouldn't necessarily in a tropical garden, but they work so beautifully.
If you fit them together, put them in the right place, and it looks great. I try to put, like, cordyline, slim leaves with thicker leaf plants like bananas, musa, stuff like that.
Yeah. And when it's backlit, wow, those flowers are just singing out to me beautifully.
It's the big leaves and monsters. That's what I like. Yeah, it's transported into a tropical paradise. You wouldn't think he was in the northwest of England. You come down here, you could be anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Steve's jungle.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call it. I think it's wonderful.
Although the front of this Insete is pretty raggedy, the back is still actually really beautiful. Absolutely lovely. But I can't match anything that Stephen's growing. I'm amazed that it manages to survive so easily out of doors that far north. It does show you that a microclimate is as important as the macroclimate around it. One sad point in that is that Will Giles, who inspired Stephen to grow his exotic plants, died of cancer a few weeks ago. I remember filming Will and working with him, and not only was he a lovely man, he was a superb grower of exotic plants. And if nothing else, his memory lives on in the inspiration that he gave to Stephen, and no doubt many of you, to grow them likewise. These lemons have been out here on the mound for about the last 3 or 4 months, and I've been watering them weekly and giving them a bit of feed with liquid seaweed. When you water any citrus, you want to give them a good soak so that it runs throughout the bottom. The crucial thing at this time of year is don't prune them, don't pot them on, and do protect them in winter. They will need to come in under cover from about October, mid-October onwards to avoid the worst of the cold and the wet weather. And when you bring them in, they need to be cool and quite damp, quite humid. So indoors in the house is no good at all. A cold greenhouse is ideal. Don't be tempted to heat them, and cut the watering right down to about once a month. But they will still grow, they will still flower, they will still produce fruit. And they look fantastic, even if the fruit isn't ripe. And you know, a gin and tonic with your own lemon is still a wonderful thing, even in the middle of a gloomy British winter. Now, the foliage, despite being a bit yellow, does smell fantastic, which brings me to my next lemon plant. Come on now, here, look, squeeze, here, squeeze. I've got a couple of plants growing side by side here in the herb garden, which may not produce lemons as we know them, but boy, do they produce a lemony scent. The first is Melissa, or lemon balm. And if I just take its foliage like that, up wafts this wonderful lemony, zesty smell. But it's not an entirely wonderful plant. If you grow it right, it's great, and fantastic addition to a herb garden. But if you grow it in a border, mixed in with other plants, it can become very invasive. So I try and restrict it here to a raised bed where it can't go beyond the outsides. This is very poor stony soil, deliberately to get good drainage. And what's good is the fresh leaves. Those make a delicious tea. And what I would say is that when you get this old growth, cut it back. What I'm left with is nice young growth. And this is what we'll use in the kitchen and to make a drink. But the best lemon plant of all is this. This is lemon verbena. It actually makes a woody shrub. And the scent is pure, undiluted sherbet lemons. I don't know if they still make sherbet lemons, but if you're of a similar age to me, you will remember them from your childhood. That absolute fizz of lemon. Probably the most powerful lemon scent in any plant. And it makes a wonderful tea, which, despite the exuberance of the smell, is actually a calmative. But it's not hardy. Lemon balm is as hardy as you like. Nothing will kill that. Lemon verbena is tender. So what I do is dig it up in the middle of October, put it in a plastic pot and pop it in the greenhouse. It's worth protecting because one whiff of that and I'm sitting looking over the Bay of Naples. I grow these carnivorous plants permanently in the greenhouse, even though actually they're pretty hardy because they're doing a job. They're catching insects. If you look inside some of these picture-shaped trumpets of the plants, this is Sarracenia, it's full of insects and wasps and even the odd moth in there. And it's catching insects that would otherwise be damaging the plants. And it can seem at times that the garden is being assaulted from all sides. Well, if you think you know all your enemies, think again, because new pests are coming into the country all the time. And Rachel went along to RHS Wisley to see what the latest potential problems are to arrive in our gardens.
Since the 1970s, the RHS Advisory Service, based in the laboratory building at Wisley, has been doing research and providing advice to help gardeners make informed choices about the plants they choose to grow and how to control pests and diseases.
But in recent years, inquiries have been flooding in about some new insect pests that seem to be marching across the country.
Dr. Hayley Jones is at the forefront of research into a set of alien invaders that might just have landed in your back garden.
Hayley, hi.
Hello.
Now, I'm hearing much more that gardeners are beginning to find some more unusual pests.
There's a few new pests that we've been keeping track of, some of which are much harder to spot than others, so I thought maybe we could go out in the garden and see what we can find.
So I've got my specs with me, trusty magnifying glass.
Yep,
We're going to go
okay.
hunting.
On the RHS information hit list are several new bugs that have been spotted within the gardens.
Oh, Hayley, is that one just there?
Yes, it is. This is the rosemary beetle, so called because it feeds on rosemary, but it also can feed on thyme and sage and lavender as well. It's only been in the UK as the late 90s, early 2000s, but it's now quite widespread.
What sort of damage do they do?
Damage can be quite subtle, nibbling at the leaves, but sometimes the plant can die, but that's usually if it's under some other stresses as well.
So what about control for this?
Well, the main thing is to take them off a plant. An easy way to do this is to put newspaper underneath and to shake the plant because they've got this dropping mechanism. They'll fall off and you can gather them up and take them away.
I think that sounds like a great one. I think I'd do that. But for people who want to spray, perhaps?
The adult beetle is quite resistant, so it's best to target the larvae. But you've got to make sure that you use a pesticide that's suitable for use on edible herbs.
I think, Hayley, there's nothing quite like this blue of an agapanthus. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and agapanthus is quite well known for hardly having any pests or diseases that affect it. But I'm actually working on a research project at the moment of a new pest that you might never have seen before, which is the agapanthus gall midge. This was first spotted last year, and it was so new that it hasn't got a scientific name.
This is all looking good.
Yeah, the signs can be quite subtle. You can see this kind of slight discoloration. This probably won't flower because it's got the larvae of the gall midge inside. So if I break this open, there, can you see the larvae in there?
Yes.
They only get about as big as 3 millimetres, and that's it, so you really have to be looking hard.
Oh, look at it wriggling around.
There are two other pests that the RHS is currently monitoring. The first attacks daylilies in early summer and is known as the Hemerocalis gall midge. The affected buds are much shorter and fatter than normal, and when they're split open, they're full of tiny maggots. The other is Berberis sawfly, the larvae of which can defoliate a plant in next to no time. So if you think you've seen any of these alien outlaws in your garden, you can do your bit and get in touch via the RHS website. Click on the link of the pest you've spotted and enter your information to help track their spread.
When a potentially major new pest emerges, it can make headline news, and that's when the experts here at Wisley are called on to help calm the media storm that inevitably follows.
Introducing the box tree caterpillar. The plant on the right was only infected a few days ago. Give it a week and it'll look like this.
So has all that commotion now begun to die down, or are you still inundated with inquiries?
Yes, after the news piece went out, we really were getting so many inquiries, some about the box tree moth, but there was a lot of mistaken diagnosis as well.
Obviously, so many of us have box in our gardens. What should we be looking for?
Well, it's best to get in amongst the plant, pull the branches apart, because the caterpillars will be hiding in there. You should be able to see their webbing and also their frass, which is their excrement, like little green pellets, and the caterpillars themselves. So you can see they're green and black with these stripes.
I have to say they're really similar, actually, to a cabbage white. So how would you tell the difference?
The main difference is that these caterpillars only feed on box. The large white will feed on all kinds of things in the cabbage family, nasturtiums. Unless it's on box, it's not the box tree caterpillar.
What should you do then to try and control them?
So the first thing is to go through and try and remove as many as possible. But if there's really lots of them, there's some pesticides that can work against them. The problem is where the box is so dense and the webbing protects them, it can be hard to get the pesticides to really work, so thorough application is necessary.
Now, I really like the idea of picking them off, and then perhaps you could put them on a bird table, so at least the birds get the benefit of your pests.
Yep, that would be good. You just have to keep an eye on them, check they don't wriggle off and make their way back to your box plant.
Over the years, gardeners have learned to live with a whole host of garden nasties. And while there are new pests on the block, maybe we should just keep calm and carry on gardening.
This is the wild garden, and I planted up the bee border and the pond, and that has attracted masses of bees. We've got frogs, we've got grass snakes, but this remains woodland in concept. So I want to put some body in, some backbone, which comes from shrubs. And because it's a wildlife garden, those shrubs need to serve a purpose other than just aesthetic. So I've chosen 3 that are particularly good for berries, which are great for birds. Now, the first is paracantha. I've got 2 types here, sapphire red and sapphire orange. Birds love paracantha, and bees love them too, because those berries, of course, are preceded by flowers. One word of warning about paracantha: they are very thorny, so they should never be put in the middle of a border or near a path. Behind it, I've got a viburnum opulus, the Guelder rose. This is much more loose and open and has these fabulous bunches of berries that look like currants. Again, birds adore them. And then they have white lace-cap flowers in spring. Now, before I plant, you can see that this soil is dry and a little bit thin. And actually, what I'm going to add is this, which is spent compost from a trough that we were growing herbs in. And it's got a mixture of grit, leaf mould, and the roots from the herbs, and that's fine. That doesn't matter at all, because that's organic material, will break down and help enrich the soil and increase its structure. If you plant it slightly up above the ground, the roots will go down and out, and they tend to grow sideways. So it's not depth you want, it's a good lateral growth. Viburnum is essentially a woodland plant, so it likes light, dapple shade. paracantha will grow in dry shade and in very poor soil. But that doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the best from them. If you want maximum berries, either for just simply aesthetic pleasure or to attract birds, give them some daylight. They don't need the best spot in the garden, but they will benefit from a little bit of TLC. It is really important that after you've planted any shrub or tree, give it a good soak. That's the time to add a bit of goodness. This is leaf mould that I'm using. And this lovely, soft, crumbly stuff, last year, 12 months ago, were all leaves attached to the trees, still not even beginning to turn in colour. So it's amazing that you just collect them up as they fall and leave them. And it's the perfect mulch for woodland plants. Well, it's not quite yet time to gather leaves. But here are some jobs that it is time for this weekend. Not only is it time to plant bulbs into the garden, but also into pots. An Iris reticulata put into pots now will give you a flare of intense blue next January and February. Choose a nice terracotta pot and use a very gritty compost. Half fill it, place the bulbs about 1 inch apart in the pot, top it up, and then put a covering of grit. Water them and put them somewhere where they won't be soaked by rain. They don't need protection from cold, but mustn't be allowed to get too wet. If you took hardwood cuttings, like these blackcurrants last year, they will now have developed into strong plants. But if you leave them over winter, there's a risk that the roots will become intertwined. So dig them up individually and either transplant them to where they're to grow, or if that space isn't ready, pot them up into normal potting compost, water them, and put them somewhere to store over winter, ready for planting next spring. Most hardy annuals can be sown next spring, but a few, and in particular Ami majus or Ami visnaga, do much better if sown now, in September. Sprinkle the seeds onto seed compost, water them, and put them somewhere protected to germinate. Then the small plants can stay in a greenhouse or a cold frame over winter and will grow away faster and stronger next spring. Well, the days might be getting shorter and winter might be coming, but the light on a clear day at this time of year is fabulous. And although there's less and less of it every day, while it lasts, I absolutely love it. And there are apples to come. However, that's all we've got time for today. See you next time. Bye-bye.